Welcome to Apex Atlas. Tonight, we journey to the rugged edge of Scandinavia, to a land carved by ice, guarded by mountains, and kissed by the sea. This is the land of the midnight sun and the ethereal aurora. This is Norway. Whether you are here to learn or to let your mind drift into a deep, coastal slumber, let the weight of the day settle. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a great fjord, where the water is as still as glass and the mountains rise like ancient giants from the deep. From the seafaring legacy of the Vikings and the intricate carvings of the Stave Churches, to the modern, sustainable pulse of Oslo and the colorful wooden houses of Bergen, we will explore the spirit of the North. We will wander through the Seven Sisters waterfalls, the heights of Preikestolen, and the quiet, snow-dusted islands of the Lofoten archipelago. The air is cool, the world is quiet, and the saga of the North is about to begin. Breathe deeply, and let us venture into the heart of Norway. Geography and nature, locations and borders. Norway stretches like a ribbon along the edge of northern Europe, a land of dramatic coastlines, endless mountains, and skies that never truly darken in summer. It is a country defined by its shape and solitude, a slender silhouette carved by glacier and washed by the North Sea. To the east, Norway shares long, peaceful borders with Sweden, as well as shorter ones with Finland and Russia in the far north. To the west, its jagged coastline meets the open Norwegian Sea, where thousands of islands and inlets form a labyrinth of fjords and fishing villages. No country in Europe has a longer coastline, more than 100,000 kilometers when every fjord and island is counted. The south of Norway opens to the Skagerrak Strait, facing Denmark across the water, a reminder of centuries of shared history between the two nations. Meanwhile, the north stretches deep into the Arctic Circle, where the midnight sun burns at midnight and the aurora borealis paints the sky in winter. Norway's position between sea and mountains gives it its unique character, outward-looking and adventurous, yet rooted deeply in its land. Its capital, Oslo, sits at the head of a fjord, blending city life with wilderness in perfect harmony. From here, the country stretches northward like a journey through time, from soft southern forests to icy northern tundra, from modern cities to villages that feel eternal. And beyond its mainland, Norway's realm reaches far into the north, to Svalbard, a remote Arctic archipelago where polar bears roam and glacier tumble into the sea. It's one of the world's final frontiers, and yet unmistakably Norwegian. Landscapes and regions. Norway's landscapes are like a song, slow, sweeping, and deeply emotional. From icy northern tundra to southern pine forests, each region tells its own story, bound together by mountains, water, and light. It's a country where geography shapes not only the land, but the people who live upon it. In the south, gentle coastlines and rolling forests surround the capital, Oslo, where fjords meet modern life. The Oslofjord region blends city culture with easy access to nature. One moment you're in a cafe, the next you're paddling through still waters surrounded by wooded islands. Further west lies Sørlandet, the southern coast, a chain of sunlit harbors and white-painted villages that sparkle in summer like pearls on the sea. Moving inland, the landscape rises. Eastern Norway is a land of vast forests, deep lakes, and quiet valleys, a playground for hikers and skiers. In winter, snow covers everything. In summer, wildflowers bloom beneath mountains reflected in mirror-like water. Then comes western Norway, the dramatic heart of the country, where the famous fjords cut through towering cliffs. Places like Georangefjord and Narofjord, both UNESCO World Heritage Sites, define Norway's beauty. Waterfalls tumble from dizzying heights, villages cling to the edges of cliffs, and cruise ships glide silently through blue-green waters that seem to belong to another world. In the Trøndelag region, around Trondheim, history, and landscape intertwine. This is the cultural center of medieval Norway, home to the magnificent Nidaros Cathedral, once a place of pilgrimage, now a symbol of quiet strength. Further north, the landscape opens up into pure wilderness. Northern Norway is the realm of the midnight sun and the northern lights, of reindeer, Sami traditions, and mountains that rise straight from the sea. The Lofoten Islands, with their jagged peaks and red fishermen's huts, are perhaps the most photogenic place on Earth, wild, dramatic, and impossibly peaceful. And beyond even this lies Svalbard, Norway's Arctic crown, a frozen archipelago of ice, silence, and raw beauty. Here, the human presence feels temporary, dwarfed by the grandeur of glacier and the endless light of the polar summer. Norway's landscapes are not just places to see, they are places to feel. Every region carries its own rhythm, its own mood, and together they form one of the most breathtaking natural tapestries on the planet. Climate and seasons. Norway's climate is as full of contrasts as its landscapes, shifting from frozen silence to golden midnight light, from the chill of northern winters to the gentle warmth of southern summers. It's a country where nature doesn't just mark the seasons, it defines them. In the south, around Oslo and the coastal regions, winters bring crisp air and light snow, while summers are pleasantly warm, often between 20 degrees Celsius and 25 degrees Celsius. Here, life moves with the rhythm of the year, skiing in January, sailing in July, and long, glowing evenings that seem to stretch endlessly. Further west, the Gulf Stream softens the climate along the coast. Even when snow dusts the mountaintops, fjords like those near Bergen stay ice-free year-round, their deep waters reflecting misty skies. Rain is frequent, but it brings life to the landscape, feeding green valleys and the countless waterfalls that tumble from high cliffs. Locals like to say, there's no bad weather, only bad clothing, and after a few days, you'll believe them. As you move north, the seasons transform into something truly magical. In Arctic Norway, winter is long and dark, but the reward is the northern lights, ribbons of green and violet swirling silently through the polar night. Then, in summer, the world flips, the midnight sun rises, and for weeks it never sets. Time loses meaning, and days blur into a dreamlike glow that paints mountains and seas in endless gold. Inland regions and mountain areas, such as Jotunheimen and Dovrefell, have a more continental feel, colder winters, clearer skies, and warm, dry summers. These extremes make Norway a land for every traveler, skiers, hikers, sailors, and dreamers alike. Every season here tells a different story: the hush of winter snow, the renewal of spring, the freedom of summer light, and the fiery forests of autumn. Together, they form the heartbeat of Norway, calm, constant, and impossibly beautiful. Wildlife and biodiversity. Norway is a land where nature still breathes freely, wild, untamed, and deeply alive. Its forests, fjords, mountains, and Arctic tundra form a mosaic of habitats that nurture life in its purest form. To explore the Norwegian wilderness is to step into a world where humans are guests and the wild still rules. In the southern forests, elk, known locally as elg, move quietly through pine and birch, their massive silhouettes appearing like shadows in the mist. Red deer, foxes, and hares share this green realm, while along the rivers, beavers shape the waterways with timeless patience. As you travel north or climb higher into the mountains, the wildlife becomes hardier. The ancient musk ox roams the tundra of Dovrefell National Park, a relic from the Ice Age that endures against snow and wind. Herds of reindeer, both wild and domesticated, cross the northern plateaus under the watch of the Sami people, their lives intertwined for centuries in this frozen partnership between humans and nature. The coasts and fjords, meanwhile, are alive with sound and motion. Puffins nest on windswept cliffs, white-tailed eagles glide above the water, and orcas patrol the Arctic seas. In the north, near Tromsø and Vestland, whales rise from the deep, humpbacks, fins, and even the mighty blue whale, the largest creature ever to live. Norway's biodiversity extends beyond its land and sea. Its national parks and protected areas, over 3,000 in total, safeguard everything from fragile Arctic tundra to ancient pine forests and glacial valleys. Each ecosystem, each animal, is part of a balance that Norwegians fiercely respect. Here, wildlife is not something to see from a distance, it's something to share space with. On a quiet morning hike, you might hear the call of a ptarmigan or catch the glint of a deer's eye through the trees. These encounters stay with you, reminders that in Norway, wilderness isn't a destination. It's a way of life. Natural wonders. Norway's natural wonders are not merely sights, they are sensations. They rise, fall, whisper, and roar. From the glassy stillness of the fjords to the thundering waterfalls of the west, from the dancing sky of the Arctic to the silence of the glacier, this land feels alive in ways words can barely capture. Perhaps nothing defines Norway more than its fjords, deep, glacial valleys flooded by the sea, framed by cliffs so high they touch the clouds. Geographical and Fjord, both UNESCO World Heritage Sites, are among the most breathtaking. Standing on their shores, you feel the sheer scale of nature, a reminder of how small, yet how connected, we truly are. Then there are the waterfalls, countless and spectacular. Voringsfossen plunges 182 meters into a misty gorge. Langfoss, often listed among the world's most beautiful, tumbles dramatically into Fjord. Each is different, but all sing the same eternal song of water meeting rock. In the north, the sky itself becomes a wonder. The northern lights, the aurora borealis, shimmer across the heavens from autumn to spring, painting them in waves of green, pink, and violet. And in summer, the midnight sun replaces them, bathing the world in endless golden light. Norway's mountains are equally magical, sharp and ancient, shaped by ice and time. The peaks of Jotunheimen, the home of the giants, seem to pierce the heavens, while the Lofoten Islands offer surreal silhouettes rising straight from the sea. Here, every path feels like an invitation to climb higher, to breathe deeper, to live slower. And far to the north lies Svalbard, a realm of ice and silence. Glaciers carve across its frozen heart, polar bears roam its tundra, and the air feels untouched by centuries. Few places on Earth remind you so powerfully that you are standing at the edge of the world. Norway's wonders are both vast and intimate. They can be found in the might of a glacier, or in the reflection of a mountain on still water. To witness them is to feel something ancient stir within you, awe, humility, and a deep sense of peace. National parks and reserves. Norway's national parks are the soul of the country, vast, untamed sanctuaries where nature rules and silence speaks. They are places of raw beauty, stretching from glacial peaks to windswept tundra, where travelers can walk for hours without seeing another soul. Here, the modern world fades away, and what remains is something ancient, a connection to the land itself. There are 47 national parks across mainland Norway and 7 more in Svalbard, each with its own personality. Together they protect around 17% of the country's land, ensuring that Norway's wild heart will always beat freely. In the Central Highlands lies Jotunheimen National Park, the home of the giants, a world of glacier, ridgelines, and more than 250 peaks soaring above 1,900 meters. It's here that Norway's highest mountain, Galdhøpiggen, rises proudly, surrounded by trails that lead past turquoise lakes and fields of summer snow. To hike here is to feel small, but in the best possible way. Further south, Hardangervidda National Park offers a different kind of beauty, a vast mountain plateau where reindeer herds still roam freely. It's a landscape shaped by wind and water, where clouds drift low and the light seems to stretch forever. In winter, it becomes a frozen wilderness. In summer, a world of heather and quiet streams. To the north, Rondane and Dovrefell preserve Norway's high mountain ecosystems, home to rare muskoxen and Arctic foxes. Here, solitude is profound. The air is sharper, the silence deeper, and every step feels like a journey through time. In coastal Norway, Førde and Whitehavet protect marine environments rich in seabirds, seals, and kelp forests. These parks remind visitors that Norway's wilderness isn't just found in the mountains, it thrives in the sea as well. And then, far beyond the mainland, lies Svalbard, with its 7 Arctic parks, a frozen kingdom of polar bears, glacier, and endless light. It is one of the wildest and most fragile places on Earth, where nature reigns in its purest, most primal form. To visit Norway's national parks is not simply to see nature, it's to feel it. The stillness, the scale, the breath of wind across the tundra, they linger long after you leave, whispering the truth that wilderness is not something outside of us, but something we carry within. Mountains and hiking routes. Norway's mountains are more than just peaks. They are part of the nation's identity, woven into its myths, music, and everyday life. To climb a mountain here is to walk through history, to follow in the footsteps of wanderers, shepherds, and explorers who have sought both solitude and freedom in the high places of the world. The landscape is defined by rugged ranges that stretch from the gentle hills of the south to the jagged spires of the north. In the heart of Norway lies Jotunheimen, the home of the giants, an otherworldly realm of over 250 summits above 1,900 meters. Among them stands Galdhøpiggen, Norway's highest mountain at 2,469 meters, and Glittertind, often wrapped in a cloak of ice and cloud. Hiking here feels like stepping into the bones of the earth, vast, ancient, and humbling. To the west, the mountains fall dramatically into the fjords. Trails wind above the deep blue waters of Georangefjord and Nærøyfjord, offering views that feel painted by the gods. The path to Trolltunga, the Troll's Tongue, is one of Norway's most famous hikes, an epic climb to a thin rock ledge that juts 700 meters above Lake Ringedalsvatn. It's challenging, but the reward is unforgettable, a panorama of sky, stone, and silence. Equally dramatic is the hike to Preikestolen, or Pulpit Rock, overlooking the Lysefjord. It's one of the most photographed viewpoints in Europe, a flat cliff suspended above a vast void. Stand here, and the world feels endless. In Romsdalen, near Andelsens, the Romsdalseggen Ridge offers one of the most scenic routes in Scandinavia. The trail dances along knife-edge peaks, with fjords on one side and towering cliffs on the other. Further north, in the Lofoten Islands, jagged mountains rise straight from the sea, their trails weaving through emerald valleys and past white sand beaches where midnight sunlight glows. Norway's hiking culture runs deep. Locals call it friluftsliv, the open-air life, a philosophy that celebrates freedom, simplicity, and the deep connection between people and nature. Whether it's a short forest walk or a week-long trek across glacier, Norwegians move through their land with quiet reverence. Every mountain tells a story here, not of conquest, but of belonging. To hike in Norway is not about reaching the summit, it's about breathing the same air as the eagles, feeling the weight of the earth beneath your feet, and understanding that nature is not a backdrop, but home. Rivers and lakes. Norway is a land carved by water, not just the fjords that define its coasts, but the rivers and lakes that shape its inland soul. From glacial torrents that thunder through canyons to tranquil lakes that mirror the sky, these waters are the quiet lifeblood of the country, feeding forests, fjords, and imagination alike. The story begins high in the mountains, where snow and ice melt into streams that rush through valleys, carving their way toward the sea. One of the most famous is the Glomma River, Norway's longest at more than 600 kilometers, flowing from the highlands of Trøndelag to the Oslofjord. Along its banks lie forests, mills, and villages that have lived by its rhythm for centuries. In the west, the Voss and Sjøa rivers are beloved by adventure seekers, crystal clear and powerful, perfect for rafting and kayaking. Their waters tumble through narrow gorges, reflecting the blue of the sky and the green of moss-covered rocks. Further north, the Alta River in Finnmark is known as one of Europe's finest salmon rivers, a sacred place for anglers and Sami alike, where the midnight sun glows softly on the rippling water. But it's Norway's lakes that bring stillness to the wild. Mjøsa, the largest in the country, stretches like a mirror through rolling farmland near Lillehammer, while Femunden and Bygden rest quietly between forests and peaks, untouched by time. Many lakes, like Tying and Gjende in Jotunheimen, shimmer in shades of turquoise, colored by glacial silt that catches the light like powdered jade. In the far north, the water turns mystical. The Tana River, winding between Norway and Finland, flows through the homeland of the Sami people, a land where reindeer graze by its banks and the northern lights ripple above. Its rhythm, like the people who live beside it, remains steady and timeless. Whether wild or calm, Norway's rivers and lakes are more than scenery, they are stories. Stories of glacier that shaped the land, of fishermen and travelers who followed their paths, and of a nation forever tied to the water that runs through it. Caving and underground worlds. Beneath Norway's mountains lies a world few ever see, a hidden landscape of darkness and wonder. These are the underground cathedrals of the north, caves carved by time, water, and stone, echoing with the quiet drip of centuries. To enter them is to step into the deep memory of the earth itself. Norway's caves were born of its geology, where limestone meets water. The slow alchemy of nature creates twisting tunnels and vaulted chambers. In the northern regions, especially Nordland and Troms, these networks stretch for kilometers, hidden beneath wild mountain slopes and forested valleys. One of the most remarkable is the Grønlagrotta cave near Mo i Rana, a natural labyrinth that runs for over 4 kilometers beneath the earth. Here, crystal clear streams flow through the darkness, and sunlight from hidden fissures glows like gold on wet stone. Guided tours take visitors deep inside, through vast halls and glittering rock formations shaped over tens of thousands of years. Nearby lies Setergrotta, another extraordinary system, where visitors can crawl, climb, and descend into the earth with headlamps lighting the way. It's both thrilling and humbling, a reminder that Norway's beauty isn't only above ground, but deep below. Further south, in Saltfjellet Svartesen National Park, explorers find caves formed by melting glacier, their walls rippling with layers of mineral color. In the far north, on the island of Anoya, sea caves open straight into the Arctic, dark portals where waves crash into the heart of the mountain. These caverns were once places of shelter, mystery, and myth. Local legends speak of trolls and mountain spirits living in the shadows, echoes of an ancient world where humans feared, yet revered, what lay beneath. Today, caving in Norway is an adventure for the curious, not only for those seeking excitement, but for anyone who wants to feel the deep stillness of the earth. Inside, sound fades, time slows, and you realize that even in darkness, Norway's landscapes continue to awe. Culture and tradition. Festivals and celebrations. Norway may be known for its quiet landscapes and calm temperament, but when it celebrates, it does so with heart, heritage, and a touch of northern magic. From midnight sun concerts to winter fire festivals, every season brings an occasion that reflects the rhythm of nature and the pride of a people deeply rooted in tradition. The year begins in the hush of winter, when light is precious and gatherings bring warmth to the cold. In the Arctic North, towns like Tromsø and Alta celebrate the Northern Lights Festival, a fusion of classical music, art, and the ethereal glow of the aurora dancing above. In Røros, the winter fair, Rørosmartnen, transforms the UNESCO-listed mining town into a scene from centuries past, with horse-drawn sleighs, folk costumes, and the scent of wood smoke filling the streets. As spring awakens, so does the spirit of national pride. On May 17th, Norwegians across the country take to the streets for Constitution Day, waving flags, playing music, and wearing their traditional bunad costumes. It's not just a national holiday, but a heartfelt expression of joy, unity, and freedom. The air hums with brass bands, laughter, and the clinking of ice cream spoons, because no Norwegian celebration is complete without one. Summer brings festivals of light, music, and nature. In Bergen, the Festspillene, Bergen International Festival, fills the historic harbor with art, theater, and performance. In Nordkapp, the Midnight Sun Marathon draws runners from around the world to race under a sun that never sets. Along the coast, smaller towns host traditional boat festivals and seafood feasts, celebrating life by the water that defines Norway. When autumn returns, the mood softens. The Sami people of the north hold seasonal gatherings to honor their reindeer herding culture and the turning of the year. In the fjord towns, harvest markets bring together crafts, local foods, and stories, reminders of Norway's bond with the land. What ties all these celebrations together is not spectacle, but sincerity. Whether it's a grand music festival or a small village fair, every event reflects Norway's soul, proud, peaceful, and deeply connected to its nature and traditions. Food and drink. Norwegian cuisine is simple, pure, and deeply tied to the land and sea that shape the country's soul. Every dish tells a story, of fishermen braving Arctic waters, farmers working sunlit valleys, and families gathering around tables in warmth while snow falls outside. It's food born of necessity and perfected through tradition, guided by the rhythm of the seasons. Seafood is at the heart of Norway's culinary identity. Along the coasts, fishing has sustained communities for centuries, and the bounty of the sea remains ever present on the plate. Salmon, both fresh and smoked, is a national treasure, exported around the world yet tasting best at home beside a fjord. Cod, too, has legendary status. In Lofoten, stockfish, air-dried cod, hangs from wooden racks, just as it has for 1,000 years, filling the air with the scent of salt and sea. Inland, hearty mountain dishes bring comfort through the long winters. Farikal, a simple stew of lamb and cabbage, is considered the national dish, slow-cooked until tender and shared with friends when the nights grow long. Other favorites include rakfisk, fermented trout, klippfisk, dried and salted cod, and kjøttkake, Norwegian-style meatballs served with brown gravy and lingonberry sauce. Norwegians have a special love for baked goods, from lefse, a soft potato flatbread dusted with sugar and cinnamon, to skillingsboller, the sweet, sticky cinnamon buns that fill cafes with their aroma. Coffee, too, is sacred here, strong, black, and endlessly poured, a symbol of community and conversation. And then there's the taste of celebration, aquavit, the spiced spirit flavored with caraway and herbs, sipped slowly during holidays and feasts. In the far north, Sami traditions add unique flavors, reindeer meat, cloudberries, and smoked fish shared around open fires beneath endless skies. What makes Norwegian food special isn't its complexity, but its honesty. Each meal feels close to nature, respectful of what the land provides. It's nourishment in its truest sense, simple, seasonal, and full of soul. Arts and music. Norway's art and music flow from the same source as its landscapes, deep, mysterious, and shaped by light and silence. The country's creative spirit is woven into its fjords and forests, its long winters and bright summers, its stories of solitude, strength, and wonder. To experience Norwegian art is to glimpse the country's heart, quiet yet powerful, minimal yet filled with emotion. The roots of Norwegian creativity stretch back to its Viking age, when wood carvings and runestones told tales of gods and heroes. Over time, this evolved into a national art movement inspired by nature and identity. In the 19th century, the national romantic artists, like J.C. Dahl and Hans Gude, painted vast, glowing landscapes that helped define how Norwegians saw their own land: wild, sacred, and sublime. Perhaps the most famous Norwegian artist, Edvard Munch, captured emotion in its rawest form. His iconic painting The Scream, born from a sunset walk overlooking Oslofjord, expresses the tension between beauty and anxiety, light and darkness that still defines Nordic art. His legacy lives on in Oslo's Munch Museum, where more than 26,000 of his works are preserved. Music, too, is part of Norway's soul. The melodies of Edvard Grieg, the nation's beloved composer, echo through concert halls and fjord valleys alike. His Peer Gynt Suite, inspired by Henrik Ibsen's play, brings to life the spirit of Norwegian folklore, from mountain trolls to morning light. To this day, Grieg's home in Trollhaugen, near Bergen, remains a place of quiet inspiration. Modern Norwegian music spans every genre, from the haunting choral harmonies of the north to electronic innovation and black metal that emerged from Oslo's underground scene. Contemporary artists like Aurora and Sigrid carry forward Norway's musical essence, raw, emotional, and deeply connected to the natural world. Whether it's a folk fiddler playing in a mountain village or a symphony under the northern lights, Norway's art and music share one truth: beauty here is never loud. It whispers, it glows, it lingers like twilight over a silent fjord. Clothing and fashion. In Norway, clothing is more than a matter of style, it's a dialogue with nature. For centuries, Norwegians have dressed not just to impress, but to endure. From hand-knit wool sweaters to sleek urban designs, what people wear here reflects both tradition and the country's deep respect for its environment. The most iconic garment in Norway is the bunad, the traditional folk costume worn on national holidays, weddings, and special occasions. Each region, sometimes even each village, has its own version, distinguished by colors, embroidery, and silver clasps. The bunad tells a story of heritage and belonging, of where one's family came from, of craft passed down through generations, and of pride in one's roots. On May 17th, Constitution Day, the streets bloom with bunads of every kind, a living tapestry of Norwegian identity. For everyday life, function meets elegance. Norway's modern fashion is shaped by the same principles that guide its architecture and design: clean lines, simplicity, and sustainability. Brands like Devold, Dale of Norway, and Norrøna honor the nation's legacy of wool and craftsmanship, producing garments built for both city life and the wild. The classic Norwegian sweater, with its intricate geometric patterns, remains a symbol of warmth and authenticity, as at home in Oslo's cafes as it is in a cabin by the fjord. In recent years, Norway has become a quiet pioneer of sustainable fashion, leading the way in ethical design and responsible production. Young designers draw inspiration from Arctic light, natural textures, and the serenity of Scandinavian landscapes. Fashion here is understated but purposeful, more about quality and longevity than extravagance. Whether dressed for the mountains or the city, Norwegians share one rule: be ready for anything. Layers are a way of life, and practicality is never unfashionable. In a land where the weather changes by the minute, true style lies in being prepared and looking effortlessly elegant while doing it. Language and literature. Language in Norway is more than a tool, it's a melody shaped by mountains, coastlines, and centuries of story. The way Norwegians speak reflects their landscapes, calm, precise, and rich in subtle beauty. From sagas carved in runes to modern poetry inspired by the Northern Lights, Norway's literature captures the quiet strength of its people and the depth of its land. Norway has two official written languages, Bokmål and Nynorsk, both forms of Norwegian that evolved after centuries under Danish rule. While Bokmål is used by most Norwegians, Nynorsk thrives in the western regions, carrying echoes of rural dialects and ancient Norse rhythms. Spoken Norwegian, however, dances freely across the country, with hundreds of local dialects that shift from valley to valley. In the far north, the Sami languages add another layer of beauty, words shaped by reindeer, snow, and endless skies. The roots of Norwegian literature stretch deep into myth and legend. The Viking sagas, written in Old Norse, tell of gods, explorers, and warriors, timeless tales of courage and fate that still echo through the nation's spirit. These early stories, such as those found in the Poetic Edda and Prose Edda, form the bedrock of Nordic imagination. In later centuries, literature became a vessel for identity and independence. Henrik Ibsen, Norway's greatest playwright, redefined drama with works like Peer Gynt and A Doll's House, exposing the struggles between society and the self. His contemporary, Bjørnstjerne Bjørnson, wrote both novels and the national anthem, his words still sung with pride today. Modern Norwegian writers carry forward this legacy with quiet brilliance. Authors like Knut Hamsun, Sigrid Set, and Karl Ove Knausgård explore the human condition through the lens of nature and solitude. Their words are both deeply personal and universally human, mirroring Norway itself, introspective, raw, and profoundly beautiful. Whether spoken around a fire, sung in a lullaby, or written beneath northern skies, Norway's language and literature share one truth: words here are never wasted. They flow like rivers, pure, honest, and eternal. Religion and spiritual life. In Norway, faith has always been woven with the natural world. From the deep forests to the frozen fjords, spirituality here feels less about buildings and more about belonging to the land, to the light, and to the quiet cycles of the seasons. Long before Christianity reached these northern shores, Norwegians worshipped the Old Norse gods, Odin, Thor, and Freyja, deities who embodied wisdom, strength, and fertility. Their stories lived through sagas and stone carvings, shaping the early soul of the country. Even today, traces of those beliefs linger in the mountains and meadows, where place names whisper of ancient myths and where midsummer bonfires still honor the sun. With the arrival of Christianity around the 11th century, Norway entered a new spiritual age. Kings like Olaf II Haraldsson, later canonized as Saint Olav, helped establish the Church of Norway, blending faith with the foundations of nationhood. Pilgrims began walking long routes to Nidaros Cathedral in Trondheim, the resting place of Saint Olav, and centuries later, that same path, now called the Saint Olav Ways, still draws travelers seeking reflection and peace. Today, most Norwegians belong to the Evangelical Lutheran Church, though religious life here tends to be quiet, personal, and deeply cultural rather than formal. Churches, often simple wooden structures, sit beside fjords and forests, places of stillness that mirror the landscape's calm. Some of the most remarkable are the Stave Churches, medieval masterpieces of wooden craftsmanship, like Borgund and urns, their dark timber walls carved with dragons and crosses, a bridge between old gods and new. In the north, the Sami people continue to practice forms of spirituality tied to nature, reindeer, and ancestral spirits. Their rituals, songs, joik, and seasonal ceremonies connect the human spirit to the rhythm of the Arctic world. Whether found in a candlelit cathedral, a Sami drum circle, or the golden glow of a midsummer night, Norway's spiritual life remains rooted in simplicity and reverence. It is less about dogma and more about harmony, the quiet knowing that something greater moves through all things, the sea, the sky, and the heart. Customs and etiquette. Norway's customs reflect its landscape, calm, respectful, and quietly beautiful. Life here moves at an even rhythm, guided by nature, equality, and consideration for others. To understand Norwegian etiquette is to glimpse the country's soul, humble, honest, and deeply rooted in the idea that everyone and everything deserves space to breathe. Norwegians value privacy and personal space more than formality. They may appear reserved at first, but this distance is one of quiet respect, not coldness. Conversations are measured and sincere. Small talk is rare, but when a Norwegian speaks, their words carry weight. Listening is just as important as talking, and silence is never awkward. It's part of the rhythm of life. Equality is a cornerstone of Norwegian culture. There are few visible hierarchies, and everyone is treated with the same respect, from a CEO to a farmer. This egalitarian spirit is reflected in everyday life, addressing people by their first names, sharing household chores, and taking pride in modesty. One of the most cherished Norwegian values is dugnad, a concept of community cooperation. Whether painting a neighbor's fence or cleaning a shared courtyard, everyone contributes without expectation of reward. It's a reminder that togetherness, not competition, keeps society strong. When it comes to social customs, Norwegians are punctual and organized. Time is respected, as is honesty. Being late without warning is considered impolite, and boasting is frowned upon. Generosity, on the other hand, is quiet. A warm home-cooked meal, a coffee shared by a fire, or an invitation to join a ski trip. In dining and hospitality, simplicity is key. Shoes are often removed upon entering a home, guests are offered coffee, and gratitude is shown with sincerity rather than extravagance. Compliments are accepted modestly. Thank you, is enough. Beneath these understated manners lies a culture of authenticity. Norwegians prefer realness over politeness, substance over show. Their etiquette, like their country, is calm, steady, and honest, built not on appearances, but on integrity. Sports and leisure. In Norway, sport isn't simply about competition. It's a way of life, a celebration of nature, endurance, and joy. Here, leisure is found outdoors, under wide skies and falling snow, in the movement of bodies that have long been shaped by mountains, forests, and fjords. Norwegians are often said to be born with skis on their feet, and it's no exaggeration. Cross-country skiing is almost a national ritual, a rhythmic glide through frozen forests and quiet valleys that blends exercise with meditation. The annual Birkebeiner race, which retraces a medieval rescue through snow-clad mountains, captures the spirit of Norway's resilience and history. Skiing isn't about winning, it's about belonging to the landscape and to a tradition that has endured for centuries. In the warmer months, the same trails become playgrounds for hikers, cyclists, and runners. Friluftsliv, meaning open-air living, is a beloved Norwegian concept that expresses harmony with nature, whether it's kayaking through fjords, camping under midnight sun, or simply walking through woods after work. It's less a hobby and more a philosophy. Life is best lived outdoors. Norway has also produced world-class athletes whose achievements mirror the country's quiet determination. From Ole Einar Bjorndalen, the king of biathlon, to Marit Bjorgen, the most decorated Winter Olympian of all time, Norwegians dominate winter sports with humility and grace. Even in football, stars like Erling Haaland and Martin Odegaard now carry Norway's flag onto global fields, symbolizing a new generation of talent. But not all leisure is about movement. Norwegians also cherish stillness, reading by the fire, fishing in a quiet lake, or spending a weekend in a simple hut cabin surrounded by mountains. Leisure here is balanced, restorative, and deeply human, a reflection of a nation that understands the art of slowing down. Architecture through the ages. Norway's architecture is a dialogue between nature and necessity, a story written in wood, stone, and light. From medieval stave churches to glass and steel museums, every structure reflects the country's deep respect for the environment and its enduring balance between tradition and innovation. The earliest forms of Norwegian architecture were shaped by survival. In the Viking era, longhouses made of timber and turf offered warmth against fierce winters and space for both family and livestock. These humble beginnings laid the foundation for Norway's greatest architectural treasures, the Stave Churches. Built between the 12th and 14th centuries, these wooden masterpieces, such as Borgund and urns, rise like dark cathedrals from forest floors. Their carved dragons, crosses, and intricate pillars reveal a seamless blend of pagan myth and Christian faith, wood transformed into wonder. As centuries passed, towns grew and stone replaced timber in cities like Bergen and Trondheim. The Hanseatic merchants of Briggen left behind rows of colorful wooden houses that now lean slightly with time, UNESCO-protected reminders of Norway's seafaring trade and resilience. Inland, farmsteads and log cabins carried forward the same wooden soul, crafted to withstand storms and snow. By the 19th century, national romanticism brought a new architectural pride. Norwegian architects began to embrace the drama of the landscape itself, designing buildings that looked as though they had grown from the earth. Churches perched on cliffs, lodges nestled among fjords, and mountain hotels like Dalen Hotel captured both grandeur and grace. In modern Norway, architecture has evolved into an art of harmony. Contemporary landmarks, such as Oslo's Opera House, whose white marble roof slopes into the fjord like an iceberg, and the Arctic Cathedral in Tromsø, shimmering like a shard of light, reflect the country's minimalist beauty. Even cutting-edge eco-buildings, like those in Bergen and Stavanger, echo the same old principle, to build with, not against, nature. From Viking wood to Nordic glass, Norway's architecture tells the same story in every age, one of resilience, simplicity, and belonging. It is the art of sheltering both body and spirit in a land shaped by sky and stone. Handicrafts and traditions. In Norway, craftsmanship is more than art, it's inheritance. Passed down through generations, it tells the story of survival, patience, and beauty shaped by hand and heart. From carved wood to woven wool, every craft carries the quiet pride of those who live close to nature, where skill and creativity are part of daily life. Norwegian handicrafts began in the remote valleys and fishing villages where isolation bred ingenuity. Tools, clothes, and ornaments weren't luxuries, they were necessities built to endure winter and time. Yet even in their practicality, Norwegians found grace. A carved spoon became a canvas, a woven blanket a story. The art of wood carving is one of Norway's oldest traditions. From Viking ships to ornate furniture, this craft captures both the power and poetry of wood. Many old farmhouses are adorned with hand-carved doors and beams, decorated with curling floral patterns known as rosemailing, a folk painting style that blossomed in the 18th century. Its swirling blues, reds, and greens bring warmth to even the darkest winter days. Textile work is another cornerstone of Norwegian heritage. Hand-knit wool sweaters, embroidered bunads, and woven tapestries reflect not just creativity but community. The distinctive geometric patterns of the Selbu mittens, black and white and perfectly symmetrical, have become symbols of Norwegian identity. Each piece carries a touch of individuality, a quiet reminder that handmade things hold the warmth of their maker. Traditional crafts also intertwine with celebration. During Christmas, Norwegians make woven paper hearts and straw goats called julebuk, while midsummer brings floral crowns and bonfires. The act of making, whether it's knitting by the fire or carving in a mountain cabin, connects people across generations. Today, artisans throughout Norway continue to blend old techniques with modern design. Boutiques in Bergen and Trondheim sell handcrafted silver, Sami leatherwork, and wool garments made with age-old precision. The country's love for sustainable, natural materials ensures that craftsmanship remains not just a memory, but a living practice. In every stitch and carving lies Norway's soul, practical, beautiful, and built to last. These traditions remind the world that true artistry doesn't shout, it whispers through the hands. History. Ancient origins. Long before Norway became a nation, it was a wild, untamed land of mountains, glacier, and fjords, home to people who lived in rhythm with the elements. Its earliest inhabitants, emerging from the shadows of the Ice Age more than 10,000 years ago, were hunters and gatherers who followed herds across newly thawed valleys and coastlines. They left behind traces, stone tools, rock carvings, and burial mounds, silent records of a life shaped by survival and the sea. One of the most striking windows into this ancient world lies in Norway's rock carvings, or helleristninger. Etched into stone cliffs near Alta and other northern sites, these carvings depict elk, boats, and dancing figures, visions of early life and belief. They tell of a people who saw the natural world as alive with spirit, where animals, humans, and gods were part of the same cycle. As centuries passed, small communities began to form along the fjords and forests. These early Norwegians built homes from timber, fished in the deep coastal waters, and learned to navigate their rugged landscape with quiet mastery. Nature was both their challenge and their companion, shaping a resilience that still defines the Norwegian spirit today. By the Bronze Age, trade began to flow through the north, amber, iron, and tools linking Norway to the growing networks of Europe. Ancient burial mounds, like those at Bor and Gokstad, reveal a people already proud of their craftsmanship and connection to the sea. The same skills that built sturdy fishing boats would, centuries later, give rise to the legendary Viking longships. The spiritual life of these early Norwegians was deeply tied to the earth and sky. They worshipped gods of thunder, harvest, and sea, deities who embodied the forces that ruled their existence. Even after Christianity spread through the land, echoes of these ancient beliefs remained, in folk tales, festivals, and a cultural respect for nature that endures to this day. From Ice Age hunters to Bronze Age traders, Norway's ancient roots tell a story of endurance and adaptation, of people who learned not to conquer nature, but to live in harmony with it. Kingdoms and empires. Norway's journey through the age of kingdoms and empires reads like an epic saga, filled with explorers, conquerors, kings, and the ever-present struggle for unity in a land divided by fjords and mountains. Its story is one of ambition and endurance, of a nation forged not through conquest, but through the slow, steady pull of shared identity. By the 9th century, Norway was a patchwork of small chieftaincies, powerful families ruling valleys and coasts, often clashing for control. From this world of rival clans rose a single figure destined to change history, Harald Fairhair, Harald Harfager. According to legend, Harald vowed not to cut his hair until he united all of Norway under one crown, a promise he fulfilled after the Battle of Hafrsfjord around 872 CE. His victory marked the birth of the Kingdom of Norway, a realm bound by loyalty, ambition, and the sea. In the centuries that followed, Norway's kings ruled over growing maritime power. The Viking Age, from the late 700s to the 11th century, saw Norse explorers and warriors sail across the North Atlantic, reaching Iceland, Greenland, and even the shores of North America long before Columbus. Yet beyond raids and exploration, the Vikings carried culture, law, and craftsmanship wherever they went. By the Middle Ages, Norway had expanded its influence across the North Sea, but power rarely came without consequence. Dynastic struggles, foreign alliances, and shifting loyalties would pull the kingdom into larger European webs. In 1380, after years of political marriages and changing tides, Norway entered into a union with Denmark, forming the Kalmar Union, a Scandinavian alliance that would last for centuries. Though the union brought trade and stability, it also meant Norway's independence began to fade. The royal court and much of the administration moved to Copenhagen, leaving Norwegians governed from afar. Yet even under Danish and later Swedish rule, the spirit of the Old Kingdom endured, in language, law, and the quiet pride of a people who refused to forget their roots. Norway's time within larger empires was not an age of defeat, but of quiet strength. Its culture survived foreign crowns and changing borders, waiting patiently for the day it would stand alone once more. Colonial and foreign influence. Norway's history has often been shaped not by its desire to rule others, but by the long shadow of being ruled itself. For centuries, this northern kingdom found itself entwined in unions and alliances with stronger neighbors, its culture tested, its identity tempered, and its independence patiently preserved. After the Viking Age faded, Norway's golden era of expansion gave way to one of subjugation. In 1380, the country entered into a political union with Denmark through royal marriage, a partnership that gradually became domination. Over the next 4 centuries, Norway was ruled from Copenhagen, its kings Danish, its officials foreign, and its language increasingly replaced in law and learning. This period, often called the 400-year Night, might seem dark in memory, but it was also a time of quiet resilience. Norwegian culture retreated into the mountains, the villages, and the folk traditions of rural life. Stories, songs, and craftsmanship became vessels of identity when politics could not. In the face of foreign control, the people kept alive the pulse of what it meant to be Norwegian. When Denmark's hold was broken after the Napoleonic Wars, Norway's fate shifted again, this time into the hands of Sweden. In 1814, Norway briefly declared independence, crafting its own constitution at Eidsvoll, one of the oldest democratic documents still in use today. But its freedom was short-lived. Sweden invaded later that year, and Norway was forced into a union under the Swedish crown. Yet this time, the relationship was different. Norway retained its constitution, parliament, and growing sense of nationhood. Over the 19th century, it experienced a cultural awakening, a revival of language, literature, and pride. Artists like Edvard Grieg and writers like Henrik Ibsen and Bjørnstjerne Bjørnson became voices of independence through art rather than war. By the dawn of the 20th century, Norway's national spirit was undeniable. Finally, in 1905, after centuries of foreign rule, Norway peacefully dissolved its union with Sweden, a rare act of diplomacy in a world of conflict. It chose its own king, Håkon VII, and reclaimed its full independence. From Denmark's dominance to Sweden's influence, Norway's long road to freedom wasn't marked by rebellion but by endurance. It learned to carry its culture quietly, like a flame sheltered from the wind, small, steady, and unextinguished. Struggles and revolutions. Norway's path to freedom was not marked by grand revolutions or fiery uprisings, but by quiet determination, a different kind of struggle. While other nations fought with swords and banners, Norway's revolutions unfolded through endurance, unity, and the strength of identity. For centuries, the Norwegian people endured foreign crowns, harsh winters, and the hardships of a rugged land. But even in the stillness, a revolution was forming, one born not in battlefields, but in hearts and minds. During the 19th century, as national romanticism swept across Europe, Norwegians began to rediscover their heritage. Painters, poets, and musicians found power in fjords, mountains, and myth. Their art became rebellion, a declaration that Norway's spirit was its own. The turning point came in 1814, when Norway seized a brief moment of opportunity. With Denmark weakened by the Napoleonic Wars, Norwegians gathered at Eidsvoll to draft their own constitution. Though Sweden would soon claim Norway under its crown, that document, visionary, democratic, and defiantly Norwegian, became the cornerstone of the nation's soul. In the years that followed, Norway's struggle continued in quieter ways. Language reformers fought to revive a truly Norwegian written tongue after centuries of Danish dominance. Farmers demanded fair representation in parliament. Writers like Henrik Ibsen and Bjørnstjerne Bjørnson challenged society's conventions through literature, while composers like Edvard Grieg captured the rhythm of Norway's spirit in music. By the early 20th century, this long, patient revolution had reshaped the nation. In 1905, after years of negotiation and national awakening, Norway peacefully dissolved its union with Sweden. The people voted overwhelmingly for independence, and a Danish prince, Håkon VII, was invited to become king of a free Norway. Yet the country's trials were not over. During World War II, Norway endured Nazi occupation from 1940 to 1945. Once again, resistance came not only through force, but through quiet courage. Fishermen smuggling refugees, teachers refusing to teach propaganda, citizens standing unbowed in the face of tyranny. When liberation came, it was celebrated with tears, music, and a deep sense of unity. From constitutional dreamers to wartime resistors, Norway's revolutions have always been about dignity rather than destruction, proof that true strength can lie in patience, principle, and peace. Modern nationhood. Norway's rebirth as a modern nation is a story of quiet triumph, one built not through empire or conquest, but through resilience, equality, and an unwavering sense of identity. Emerging from centuries of foreign rule, Norway entered the 20th century ready to chart its own course, humble, proud, and deeply aware of the land that shaped it. When the union with Sweden peacefully ended in 1905, Norway stood alone for the first time in nearly 500 years. Rather than choosing chaos or monarchy by force, the nation held a referendum, and the people voted overwhelmingly for independence. In a gesture of wisdom and unity, they invited Prince Carl of Denmark to become King Håkon VII, who in turn pledged loyalty not to aristocracy, but to the Norwegian people. His reign marked the beginning of a new era, one defined by democracy, freedom, and fairness. The years that followed were filled with both challenge and achievement. Norway developed a modern economy while maintaining its connection to nature and tradition. Yet the country's greatest test came during World War II, when Nazi Germany invaded in 1940. Though occupied for 5 long years, Norway never surrendered in spirit. King Håkon VII became a symbol of defiance in exile, and the people resisted with courage and dignity. When peace returned in 1945, Norway's unity was stronger than ever. In the decades that followed, Norway transformed itself from a modest, rural nation into one of the world's most prosperous democracies. The discovery of North Sea oil in the late 1960s brought immense wealth, but the country handled it with the same wisdom that guided its independence. Rather than spend recklessly, Norway invested carefully, creating the Government Pension Fund Global, now the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world, ensuring prosperity for generations to come. Today, Norway stands as a model of balance between progress and preservation, wealth and welfare, individuality and community. It has built a society rooted in equality, trust, and the quiet belief that success is best shared. In every fjord and city, in every cabin and cafe, that same independent spirit endures, calm, confident, and content. Today's identity. Modern Norway is a nation at peace with itself, confident, compassionate, and deeply connected to its roots. Though it stands among the wealthiest and most developed countries in the world, its true identity is not found in skyscrapers or statistics, but in the quiet rhythms of everyday life, in shared coffee, open landscapes, and the enduring belief that happiness lies in simplicity. Norwegians cherish the idea of friluftsliv, open-air living, the philosophy that nature is not a place to visit, but a way to exist. This love of the outdoors defines everything from leisure and design to national character. Even in cities like Oslo and Bergen, life flows between forests, fjords, and mountains. The bond between people and landscape remains unbroken, shaping values of humility, sustainability, and calm independence. In social life, equality is not just policy, it's instinct. Hierarchies are subtle, conversations are sincere, and community is built on trust. The unwritten code of Janteloven, or the law of Janti, still lingers in the background, a quiet cultural reminder that humility, cooperation, and respect for others matter more than ambition or wealth. It's not a rulebook, but a reflection of how Norwegians see the world, balanced, fair, and quietly proud. At the same time, Norway embraces modernity with confidence. Its cities pulse with creativity, from the sleek architecture of the Oslo Opera House to the innovation hubs of Trondheim and Stavanger. Music, fashion, and film thrive here, yet always with a sense of authenticity. The country has mastered the art of progress without losing its soul. Culturally, Norway celebrates both its diversity and its deep heritage. The Sami people of the Arctic North continue to preserve their language, crafts, and way of life, recognized today as a vital part of the nation's identity. Meanwhile, waves of modern migration have woven new threads into the social fabric, adding flavors, voices, and perspectives that enrich the Norwegian story. Today's Norway is a tapestry of old and new, fjords and fiber optics, traditions and technology, silence and song. It is a nation that stands proudly in the present, shaped by the past but always facing forward, guided by the same calm confidence that has carried it through 1,000 years of change. Travel highlights. Top cities, towns, and villages. Norway's towns and cities are like its landscapes, clean, calm, and effortlessly beautiful. Each has its own rhythm, its own relationship with the sea, mountains, or sky. From lively cultural hubs to peaceful fishing villages, every corner of Norway feels touched by both nature and history. At the heart of the nation lies Oslo, Norway's capital and creative soul. Surrounded by forests and fjords, Oslo feels less like a metropolis and more like a city in balance. Its skyline blends modern architecture with quiet green spaces, from the white marble slopes of the Opera House to the floating sculpture park of Ekeberg. The Vigeland Sculpture Park celebrates human emotion in bronze and granite, while the waterfront buzzes with cafes, galleries, and music. Yet, step just a few minutes away, and the wilderness awaits, hiking trails, lakes, and ski slopes reminding every resident how close nature always is. To the west lies Bergen, Norway's cultural heart and gateway to the fjords. Once a Hanseatic trading port, its colorful wooden houses at Briggen Wharf still lean toward the sea, whispering stories of merchants and sailors. Rain often falls softly over Bergen's cobbled streets, but the city glows with creativity, home to world-class composers, festivals, and a thriving art scene. Surrounded by 7 hills and 7 fjords, it's a place where history meets harmony. Further north, Trondheim carries the spirit of Norway's medieval past. Once the country's first capital, it remains a center of learning, innovation, and faith. Its grand Nidaros Cathedral, built over the tomb of Saint Olaf, still draws pilgrims today, while the city hums with student life and a warm, welcoming energy. For travelers seeking a taste of Arctic wonder, Tromsø is pure magic. Known as the gateway to the Arctic, it's one of the best places in the world to witness the northern lights or bask under the midnight sun. Beneath its glowing skies, Tromsø blends adventure with culture, reindeer safaris, polar museums, and an atmosphere both wild and human. Beyond the cities, Norway's villages hold the country's heart. Älesund, rebuilt in stunning Art Nouveau style after a fire in 1904, looks like a fairy tale by the sea. Geiranger, nestled at the end of its famous fjord, feels timeless. Waterfalls tumbling down cliffs, cruise ships gliding silently through mist. In Røros, a UNESCO-listed mining town, colorful wooden houses and cobbled lanes preserve a piece of Norway's 17th century charm. Whether in a capital alive with art or a mountain village asleep under snow, Norway's settlements share the same soul: simple beauty, quiet pride, and an unshakable bond with the land and sea. Historic and cultural landmarks. Norway's landmarks are not just monuments of stone and wood, they are living stories, shaped by time, faith, and the unbreakable bond between people and place. From medieval cathedrals to Viking ships and modern museums, every landmark reveals another chapter of Norway's long, quiet journey from wilderness to nationhood. At the heart of it all stands Nidaros Cathedral in Trondheim, Norway's most sacred and historic building. Built over the tomb of Saint Olaf, the country's patron saint, this Gothic masterpiece has been a site of pilgrimage for nearly 1,000 years. Its green spire rises above the city, a symbol of faith and endurance. To step inside is to walk through the echoes of kings, warriors, and dreamers who helped shape the nation's soul. In Oslo, history meets art and innovation. The Akershus fortress, perched above the harbor, has guarded the capital since the 13th century, a reminder of resilience through centuries of war and peace. Nearby, the Viking Ship Museum houses some of the world's best preserved Viking vessels, their curved wooden hulls still whispering tales of exploration and discovery. At the Munch Museum and National Museum, Norway's creative legacy comes alive, from Edvard Munch's haunting the screen to the serene landscapes of 19th century masters. Further west, Briggen Wharf in Bergen tells the story of Norway's trading past. Its crooked, colorful houses, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, once formed part of the Hanseatic League's powerful network. Walking between them feels like stepping back into a time when merchants filled the harbor with the scent of dried cod and the sound of northern tongues. Norway's countryside holds treasures too. The Stave Church, built in the 12th century, stands like a dark wooden poem overlooking the Lustrafjord, its intricate carvings merging Viking myth with Christian faith. In Røros, the old mining town glows with timber buildings and cobbled charm, a frozen snapshot of life in the 17th century. And on the coast, the North Cape, Europe's northernmost point, remains a place of awe, where cliffs meet endless sky and sea. Norway's landmarks are not relics of the past but reflections of its living spirit, shaped by endurance, artistry, and the eternal presence of nature. Here, the old and the new do not compete. They converse, quietly, across the centuries. Beaches and coastline. Norway's coastline is one of the longest and most dramatic on Earth, a 100,000-kilometer labyrinth of islands, fjords, and inlets shaped by the sea's eternal patience. From white sand Arctic beaches to rugged cliffs where waves crash beneath midnight light, Norway's shores are wild poetry written in salt and wind. In the far north, the beaches of Lofoten defy expectation. Here, turquoise waters meet snow-dusted peaks, and golden sand lies beneath skies that never fully darken in summer. Hawkland, Uttercleave, and Rambøkstranda are among the most surreal, places where you can watch surfers carve through Arctic waves as the sun hovers just above the horizon. These beaches aren't for sunbathing, they're for feeling alive. Further south, along the Helgeland coast, islands like Vega and Lovend offer quiet shores surrounded by seabirds and the gentle rhythm of fishing boats. The coastline here feels ancient, untouched, a reminder of Norway's deep connection to the sea. Many small communities still live by the tides, preserving traditions of fishing, boat building, and storytelling that stretch back to the Viking Age. In the country's southern reaches, the mood softens. Around Kristiansand and the Sørlandet coast, smooth granite rocks dip into calm blue water, and charming white-painted villages like Riza and Arendal glow in the summer sun. These are Norway's holiday towns, where families swim, sail, and stroll along harbors scented with salt and ice cream. Even the fjords, though sheltered, feel like parts of the coast, deep blue veins reaching into the heart of the land. Standing on a dock in Geiranger or Hardangerfjord, surrounded by mountains that rise straight from the water, you understand how the sea has shaped not just the landscape, but the Norwegian soul. Norway's coastline is endless, timeless, and ever-changing, fierce in winter, gentle in summer, always breathtaking. It is a place where sky and sea merge, and where stillness feels infinite. Hidden gems. Beyond Norway's famous fjords and cities lies a quieter world, one of secret valleys, storybook villages, and landscapes that few travelers ever see. These hidden gems are where the country's true spirit shines, unpolished, peaceful, and profoundly beautiful. In Undridal, a tiny fjordside village near Flam, only a handful of houses rest between towering cliffs and shimmering water. Its population barely passes 100, but its heart is enormous. Famous for its creamy goat cheese and one of Norway's smallest Stave Churches, Undridal feels like a place time forgot, where goats outnumber people and the air smells faintly of sea and meadow. Farther north, the Senja Island is often called Norway in miniature. Here, jagged peaks rise straight from the ocean, and mirror-still lakes hide between folds of rock. Senja offers everything from Arctic beaches to deep fjords, without the crowds of Lofoten. Standing on Tungeneset, where the mountains known as the Devil's Teeth cut into the sky, it's hard not to feel humbled by nature's artistry. Inland, the Ålandsdalen Valley reveals one of Norway's most dramatic hiking trails, a hidden canyon of waterfalls, forests, and wild rivers often called Norway's Grand Canyon. Few tourists venture this far, but those who do walk a path through centuries of legends and landscapes unchanged by time. For a glimpse of Norway's history preserved in wood and silence, visit Røros, the copper mining town turned UNESCO treasure. Its colorful timber houses glow against the snow, and the air seems filled with stories of miners, merchants, and mountain winters. And then there's Reyna, the fishing village that looks like it was painted by a dream. Red cabins sit on stilts over the Arctic Sea, surrounded by snow-capped peaks that rise like guardians. Early in the morning, when mist drifts between the mountains and the sound of a single seagull echoes, it feels like standing inside a postcard. Norway's hidden gems are not found in guidebooks, they're discovered in stillness. They live in the quiet paths between fjords, in the laughter of locals sharing waffles by the fire, in the scent of pine and salt that fills the air. They remind travelers that the best parts of Norway are not always the loudest, but the most quietly breathtaking. Adventure and activities. Adventure in Norway isn't a pastime, it's a way of life. Here, the wild is always within reach, and every season brings new reasons to step outside. Whether you're hiking a glacier, kayaking beneath towering cliffs, or chasing the northern lights across a frozen tundra, Norway invites you to explore with wonder and humility. Summer is the season of light, endless, golden, and alive. As the midnight sun circles above the Arctic, nights vanish and time seems to pause. Hikers take to the trails of Jotunheimen, the home of the giants, where the country's highest peaks, Galdhøpiggen and Glittertind, touch the clouds. The paths of Besseggen Ridge offer one of the most famous treks in Scandinavia, a thrilling walk between emerald lakes that shimmer like glass. For those drawn to water, Norway's fjords are an adventurer's paradise. Kayaking through Fjord or Geographical feels like gliding through myth, where waterfalls plunge hundreds of meters and the silence is as deep as the water below. In the south, sailing along the Sørlandet coast or fishing under the long summer dusk connects you to Norway's maritime heartbeat. Winter transforms the country into a world of ice and magic. Skiing is almost a national religion here, from the powdery slopes of Hemsedal and Trysil to the endless cross-country trails that wind through forests and frozen lakes. And farther north, in Tromsø and Alta, adventure takes on a celestial form, watching the northern lights dance across the Arctic sky, their green ribbons weaving dreams into the darkness. For a more rugged thrill, you can climb the famous Preikestolen, Pulpit Rock, or Trolltunga, both perched dramatically above fjords that drop into infinity. Each step to the top feels like a journey not just through nature, but through your own endurance. But adventure in Norway doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, in the crunch of snow underfoot, in the rhythm of paddles on still water, in the silence of a mountain sunrise. Here, nature doesn't challenge you to conquer it, it invites you to belong to it. Cultural experiences. To experience Norway is to feel its culture in motion, quiet yet powerful, ancient yet ever-evolving. Here, tradition doesn't just live in museums, it breathes in music, craftsmanship, festivals, and daily rituals that connect people to the land and to each other. Begin in the hum of Oslo, where sleek modernity meets timeless creativity. Visit the Munch Museum, where Edvard Munch's haunting masterpieces still stir the soul, or the National Theatre, where the words of Henrik Ibsen echo with truth and rebellion. Wander through Akerbrygg and Karl Johans Gate, where art, music, and laughter fill the air, proof that Norwegians balance sophistication with simplicity. In Bergen, the spirit of art and song flows like rain. The annual Bergen International Festival transforms the city into a stage of global music, theatre, and dance, while small jazz clubs and street performers keep creativity alive year-round. The wooden houses of Bryggen Wharf are not just beautiful, they're alive with the energy of craftsmen, artists, and storytellers continuing centuries of maritime tradition. Further north, culture takes a more elemental form. Among the Sami people, whose ancestral lands stretch across Norway's Arctic, tradition is inseparable from nature. Reindeer herding, intricate duoji, handicrafts, and the haunting rhythm of joik singing carry stories older than nations. Visitors can share coffee by a campfire in a Lavu tent, listen to Sami legends, and feel the pulse of a culture deeply rooted in the earth. In the countryside, every region has its own rhythm, from the folk dances of Telemark, performed in embroidered bunads, to the sound of the Hardanger fiddle, whose double strings echo through valleys like wind over water. Even Norway's cuisine speaks of tradition and place, from slow-fermented rakfisk to the comforting heartiness of raspabolla and lefse shared with friends. Norway's culture isn't about spectacle, it's about sincerity. It's found in the warmth of a cabin on a snowy evening, the laughter over waffles and brown cheese, the silence shared while gazing across a fjord. It's a culture built not on noise, but on knowing, of self, of place, and of peace. Bucket list highlights. Norway is a country that stirs the soul, a place where nature, culture, and serenity merge into moments that stay with you forever. Whether it's standing atop a mountain in the midnight sun, gliding through a fjord wrapped in mist, or watching the northern lights paint the sky, every experience here feels like a story written just for you. At the top of every traveler's list sits the Fjord, perhaps the most famous fjord in the world, a masterpiece of deep blue water, towering cliffs, and cascading waterfalls like the legendary Seven Sisters. Cruising through it feels like drifting through a dream sculpted by ice and time. Then there's the breathtaking Trolltunga, the Troll's Tongue, a rock ledge jutting dramatically 700 meters above Lake Ringedalsvatn. It's one of Norway's most iconic hikes, offering views so surreal they feel unreal, a perfect blend of adrenaline, beauty, and awe. For Arctic magic, journey north to Tromsø, where the northern lights dance across the winter sky. Watching their green ribbons shimmer above snow-dusted mountains is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, one that humbles and inspires in equal measure. In summer, the same region glows with the midnight sun, bathing fjords and peaks in golden light that never fades. Adventurers will find wonder in the Lofoten Islands, where jagged mountains rise straight from turquoise seas. Here, you can kayak between fishing villages like Reina and Henningsvær, climb wild ridges, or simply sit on a dock as the evening light melts over the horizon. History lovers shouldn't miss Bryggen Wharf in Bergen, its colorful Hanseatic buildings leaning toward the sea, nor the grand Nidaros Cathedral in Trondheim, where kings were once crowned and pilgrims still walk. And for something truly unique, journey to the North Cape, Europe's northernmost point, where the world seems to end in wind and wonder. Each of these moments, each view, hike, and whisper of wind, captures the essence of Norway. It's not just a destination to visit, but a feeling to keep forever: freedom, stillness, and the quiet joy of being alive in one of the world's most beautiful places. Museums and galleries. Norway's museums and galleries are more than places to view art and history, they're windows into the nation's soul. Each collection tells a story of discovery, resilience, and creativity, tracing how this northern land evolved from Viking outposts to a modern, cultural powerhouse. In Oslo, the capital hums with artistic energy. The National Museum, the largest in the Nordic region, is a temple of art, design, and culture, housing everything from ancient tapestries to Edvard Munch's haunting masterpiece The Scream. Nearby, the striking Munch Museum, a waterfront marvel of glass and light, celebrates one of Norway's most influential artists. Inside, emotion becomes color and brushstroke, an intimate portrait of a nation learning to express its inner world. Not far away, the Fram Museum and Kon-Tiki Museum celebrate Norway's spirit of adventure. Here, the polar ship Fram stands preserved in heroic glory, the very vessel used by Fridtjof Nansen and Roald Amundsen to explore the Arctic and Antarctic. Next door, Thor Heyerdahl's legendary Kon-Tiki raft tells a tale of courage and curiosity that sailed across oceans and into legend. In Bergen, the Code Art Museum spans several elegant buildings along the lake, forming one of Scandinavia's most important art collections. From romantic landscapes to modern installations, Code reflects Norway's ability to honor tradition while embracing new forms of expression. Nearby, the home of composer Edvard Grieg, Trollhaugen, rests quietly among trees and fjords, a living tribute to the music that still echoes across the nation. Farther north, the Tromsø Museum and Sami Center for Contemporary Art highlight Arctic life and indigenous creativity. These museums don't just preserve, they provoke, inviting visitors to see the world through the eyes of the North. From Viking relics to avant-garde design, Norway's museums offer a journey through time and thought. They reveal a culture that treasures both its past and its possibilities, a country where art and adventure are two sides of the same coin. UNESCO Heritage Sites. Norway's UNESCO World Heritage Sites are more than protected places. They are living legacies where nature, culture, and history intertwine. Each site tells part of the story of how this rugged land shaped and was shaped by its people. From dramatic fjords to medieval towns, these treasures reveal the quiet majesty and enduring spirit of Norway. Perhaps the most breathtaking of all is the West Norwegian fjords, Georangefjord and Narofjord, recognized for their raw, sculptural beauty. Sheer cliffs plunge into deep blue water, waterfalls ribbon down from mountain peaks, and tiny farms cling to ledges high above the sea. These fjords are not just scenery, they are Norway's beating heart, symbols of a landscape both powerful and fragile. Further south, the Stave Church stands like a guardian of faith and craftsmanship. Built in the 12th century, its dark wooden walls are carved with dragons and vines, a blend of Viking myth and Christian symbolism. Overlooking the Lustrefjord, this church feels eternal, a bridge between old gods and new hopes. In Bergen, the Briggen Wharf glows with colorful wooden houses leaning toward the harbor. Once the center of Hanseatic trade, it's a place where history still hums beneath the cobblestones. Today, its narrow lanes host artisans, cafes, and museums, but the scent of salt and timber whispers of the merchants who helped shape medieval Europe. Travel north to Røros and step into a town preserved in time. Once a 17th century copper mining settlement, Røros is now a living museum, its painted wooden houses and cobbled streets telling stories of endurance in the harsh mountain climate. The warmth of its community, the glow of its lights in winter, it all feels timeless. Another UNESCO gem, the Vega Archipelago, stretches across the Helgeland coast. Here, for over 1,500 years, islanders have lived in harmony with nature, tending to eider ducks for their prized down. It's a rare glimpse of sustainable living long before the term existed, a dance between humans and the wild. Together, these UNESCO sites are Norway's soul in pieces, carved in wood, reflected in water, preserved in wind. They remind us that beauty isn't only in what is seen, but in what endures. Practical information. Money and currency. Norway may be rich in fjords, mountains, and midnight light, but when it comes to money, it's the krone that rules the land. Practical, modern, and beautifully designed, the Norwegian krone, NOK, is the heartbeat of the country's economy, symbolizing both stability and independence. The krone, introduced in 1875, replaced the old spiseideler when Norway joined the Scandinavian Monetary Union. Though that alliance has long dissolved, the krone remained, carrying with it the pride of a self-sufficient nation. Its name, meaning crown, is a nod to Norway's royal heritage, while its colorful notes and coins celebrate the country's art, science, and maritime traditions. Travelers will find Norway to be largely cashless, with card and contactless payments accepted almost everywhere, even in remote mountain lodges and Arctic cafes. Mobile payment apps like Vipps are widely used by locals, allowing everything from paying for a coffee to splitting a taxi fare with a quick tap. Prices in Norway can feel high by international standards, but the quality of life and the value behind what you pay are deeply ingrained in the culture. From clean, punctual transport to world-class food safety and sustainability, the Norwegian standard is one of quiet excellence. Tipping is appreciated but not obligatory. Service charges are usually included in the bill. For those wanting to exchange currency, banks and ATMs are easy to find in all cities and towns, though digital transactions remain the most convenient option. Money in Norway reflects more than wealth. It represents trust, fairness, and transparency, values as steady as the fjords themselves. Transport and getting around. Traveling through Norway feels less like transportation and more like part of the adventure. Every journey, whether by train, car, or ferry, unfolds like a moving postcard. Mountains mirrored in glassy lakes, villages tucked between fjords, and skies that shift from gold to violet in a single breath. Getting around here isn't just about reaching a destination. It's about falling in love with the journey itself. The country's transport network is clean, efficient, and beautifully scenic. The railways are particularly enchanting, especially the Bergen Line, which crosses the snowy Hardangervidda Plateau, and the Flam Railway, one of the steepest train routes in the world, descending through waterfalls and tunnels into a lush valley. Each train ride feels like a cinematic experience, where nature takes the starring role. For those who prefer the open road, Norway's driving routes are legendary. The Atlantic Ocean Road, twisting across bridges between tiny islands, is a masterpiece of engineering and scenery, especially when waves crash against the rocks. The Lofoten scenic route is another marvel, guiding travelers through fishing villages, white beaches, and jagged peaks rising straight from the sea. Ferries and boats are a lifeline for many communities and an unforgettable way to travel. The Hurtigruten coastal voyage, running from Bergen to Kirkenes, is often called the world's most beautiful sea journey. Along the way, it passes through fjords, Arctic waters, and ports that feel like living postcards. Even the smaller ferries that connect islands and fjord crossings turn everyday travel into an experience of calm reflection and awe. In cities, public transport is seamless. Oslo's metro, trams, and buses operate with clockwork precision, and e-scooters and bikes make short trips simple and sustainable. Norway's commitment to green mobility shines in its widespread use of electric vehicles, with charging stations as common as petrol pumps, a glimpse of the world's transport future. Getting around Norway isn't just convenient, it's part of what makes the country so unforgettable. Every turn of the road or ripple on the water reveals something new, a landscape, a moment, a memory waiting to happen. Visas and entry requirements. Visiting Norway feels like stepping into a postcard, and thankfully, entering this northern wonderland is refreshingly straightforward. As a proud member of the Schengen area, Norway shares open borders with much of Europe, allowing travelers from many countries to wander its fjords and cities with ease. For citizens of the EU, EEA, and Switzerland, no visa is required. You can explore freely, staying up to 90 days within a 180-day period. Just bring a valid passport or national ID card, and the mountains, fjords, and northern lights are yours to discover. Visitors from countries outside Europe, including the UK, USA, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, also enjoy visa-free travel for up to 90 days within the Schengen zone. For longer stays, or for those wishing to work or study, a residence permit is required and can be arranged through the Norwegian Directorate of Immigration, UDI. Norway's border controls are friendly but efficient. Whether you arrive by plane, train, or ferry, entry procedures are smooth, reflecting the country's trust-based, well-organized approach to travel. However, because Norway is not part of the EU customs union, you may face separate customs checks for goods and duty-free allowances. The most important thing to bring, besides your documents, is curiosity. Once inside, the real journey begins, across mountains, through valleys, and deep into a landscape where borders seem to fade away entirely. Safety and health. Norway is not just one of the most beautiful countries on earth, it's also one of the safest. With its low crime rate, clean environment, and excellent healthcare, travelers here can focus on what matters most, exploring freely and breathing in the peace that comes with every fjord breeze. Crime is rare, and violent incidents are almost unheard of. In cities like Oslo, Bergen, and Trondheim, you can stroll the streets late at night with confidence. Norwegians value personal responsibility and trust, a quiet social contract that makes daily life feel calm and secure. The most common hazard you'll face might be slipping on ice in winter or getting so lost in the scenery that you forget the time. Nature, while stunning, commands respect. When hiking in the mountains or venturing into the Arctic, weather can change quickly, even in summer. Always check local forecasts, dress in layers, and tell someone your route. The Norwegian motto "Det finnes ikke dårlig vær, bare dårlig klær," there's no bad weather, only bad clothing, is worth remembering. Health services in Norway are excellent, modern, and accessible. Emergency care is available to everyone, and EU/EEA visitors can use their European Health Insurance Card, EHIC, for treatment. For others, comprehensive travel insurance is essential, not because care is lacking, but because quality comes with cost. Tap water is among the purest in the world, food hygiene is outstanding, and the air itself feels cleaner than almost anywhere else. In Norway, well-being isn't just physical, it's part of the national lifestyle, woven into quiet mornings, fresh air, and time spent outdoors. Communication. In Norway, communication is refreshingly simple, not just because most Norwegians speak excellent English, but because their manner of speaking is rooted in honesty, calm, and respect. Conversations here move at a gentle rhythm, marked by thoughtfulness rather than noise. The official language is Norwegian, which comes in two written forms, bokmål and nynorsk, but both sound natural and musical when spoken. Locals often switch effortlessly between dialects, depending on where they are in the country. From the sing-song tones of Bergen to the softer lilt of the north, each accent feels like a small story of its own. English is widely understood and used in everyday life, in hotels, restaurants, public transport, and even in small mountain towns. Many Norwegians also speak a little German or French, but English remains the most common bridge between locals and visitors. Technology makes staying connected easy. Norway boasts one of the world's fastest and most reliable mobile networks, even in remote areas. Whether you're video calling from a cabin in Lofoten or sending photos from the top of a fjord, signal strength rarely falters. Free Wi-Fi is common in cafes, hotels, and public areas, while SIM cards and eSIM options are readily available for travelers. Culturally, Norwegians value directness, but always with kindness. They may not engage in small talk right away, yet when they do, their sincerity runs deep. A shared love for nature, travel, or a simple comment about the weather, "So much rain today," is often enough to spark a smile and a story. In Norway, communication isn't about filling silence, it's about connecting genuinely. Local laws and customs. Norway is a country built on trust, a quiet social harmony where respect, equality, and honesty form the backbone of daily life. Laws here aren't just rules to follow, they're reflections of shared values. For visitors, understanding these customs offers a window into the calm, thoughtful rhythm of Norwegian society. One of the most remarkable things about Norway is its belief in freedom with responsibility. This is best captured in the concept of allemannsretten, the right to roam. It allows everyone to walk, camp, and explore most of the countryside, even on private land, as long as they leave no trace and show respect for nature and property. It's a beautiful symbol of balance, freedom guided by care. Socially, Norwegians tend to be modest and private, but also warm and sincere once the ice is broken. Loud behavior or boasting is frowned upon, while humility and honesty are deeply valued. Personal space is important, and queuing politely is second nature. Norway's commitment to equality runs deep. Titles and hierarchies matter little here. Even in workplaces, it's common to address your boss by their first name. Gender equality, inclusivity, and respect for others are cornerstones of Norwegian life. Alcohol laws are among Europe's strictest. The sale of wine and spirits is controlled by the state-run Vinmonopolet shops, and drinking in public spaces is generally discouraged. However, sharing a quiet beer at a cabin or toasting under the midnight sun remains a cherished tradition. Smoking is banned in indoor public areas, and environmental awareness is strong. Recycling is expected, and littering is socially unacceptable. Norway's clean streets and pristine wilderness are the result of this collective care. Above all, Norwegians live by a simple unwritten rule: behave as though no one is watching, and everyone is. Integrity isn't enforced here, it's chosen every day. Time, power, and connectivity. Norway moves at its own calm, steady rhythm. A country where time flows with the seasons and technology hums quietly in the background. Life here is balanced between the ancient and the modern. One moment you're standing on a windswept fjord with no sound but the wind, and the next, you're sending photos home on one of the fastest mobile networks in the world. Time in Norway runs on Central European Time, CET, 1 hour ahead of Greenwich Mean Time, GMT+1. And shifts to Central European Summertime, CEST, during daylight saving from late March to late October. The punctuality here reflects the culture. Norwegians value reliability and respect for others' time, whether it's catching a train or meeting for coffee. Power outlets use the standard European 2-pin plug, Type C or F, with a 230V supply at 50 Hz. Travelers from outside Europe will need an adapter, but Norway's modern infrastructure ensures stable electricity everywhere, even in remote mountain lodges and Arctic outposts. When it comes to connectivity, Norway is among the most advanced countries in the world. Mobile coverage stretches from the capital to the far reaches of the Lofoten Islands, and 4G, and increasingly 5G, networks are widely available. Free Wi-Fi can be found in nearly all hotels, cafes, and public areas, making it easy to stay connected while surrounded by wilderness. Internet speed and reliability are world-class, reflecting Norway's embrace of digital innovation. Even ferries and long-distance trains often provide Wi-Fi, so you can stream, work, or share your travels as the landscapes roll by. In a nation where nature and technology coexist so gracefully, Norway proves that being connected doesn't have to mean being busy. Here, even time itself seems to slow down just enough to breathe. Accommodation options. Staying in Norway is more than finding a place to sleep. It's about finding a place to belong. Whether you're nestled in a fjordside cabin, relaxing in a glass-roofed Arctic lodge, or waking up to the sound of gulls in a seaside village, accommodation here feels like part of the journey itself. In the cities, comfort and design go hand in hand. Oslo, Bergen, and Trondheim offer sleek, modern hotels where Scandinavian minimalism meets warm hospitality. Expect clean lines, soft light, and an effortless attention to detail, spaces that reflect Norway's love of nature and calm. Many city hotels now focus on sustainability, using renewable energy and locally sourced materials to create a truly green experience. For travelers chasing authenticity, guest houses and traditional lodges provide a window into local life. In the countryside, the word hytte, meaning cabin, captures something special. These rustic wooden retreats, often beside lakes or forests, are where Norwegians escape for peace and reflection. Some are simple and off-grid, others modern and luxurious, but all share one thing: silence, space, and a view you'll never forget. Adventure seekers will find plenty of unique stays, from snow hotels in the Arctic, sculpted entirely from ice and illuminated by soft blue light, to glass igloos where you can fall asleep beneath the northern lights. Along the coast, converted lighthouses, fishermen's cabins, råbua, and eco-lodges let you experience Norway's landscapes up close, wrapped in comfort and calm. Camping is another beloved tradition. Thanks to the right to roam, allemannsretten, you can pitch a tent almost anywhere, as long as you stay respectful and leave no trace. Waking up to a sunrise over a fjord or a valley full of mist is as Norwegian an experience as it gets. From five-star design hotels to simple cabins with wood-burning stoves, Norway's accommodations aren't just places to stay, they're places to pause, breathe, and feel the world slow down. Food and water safety. In Norway, food and water aren't just safe, they're among the purest in the world. From crisp mountain springs to meals made with clean, local ingredients, every taste reflects the country's deep connection to nature and quality of life. Tap water in Norway is exceptionally pure, often sourced directly from glacier, lakes, or deep underground springs. It's cool, clear, and safe to drink anywhere, from urban hotels to remote mountain cabins. In fact, locals often laugh at the idea of bottled water. What comes from the tap is as fresh as the snowmelt that feeds it. Norwegian food safety standards are world-class. Hygiene regulations are strict, inspections frequent, and the national culture places enormous pride in cleanliness and care. Freshness is a way of life, whether it's seafood from Arctic waters, berries picked in the forest, or vegetables grown in sunlit valleys. From Michelin-starred Oslo restaurants to rustic roadside cafes, you can eat confidently anywhere in the country. Norway also shines in its awareness of modern dietary needs. Vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-free options are widely available, and packaged foods are clearly labeled in both Norwegian and English. Supermarkets like Meny and Coop often have special sections for organic and allergen-friendly products, ensuring every traveler can enjoy local flavors safely. Foraging for berries, herbs, and mushrooms is a cherished Norwegian pastime. However, newcomers should take care, as some mushrooms have poisonous lookalikes. When in doubt, join a guided foraging walk or check local resources before tasting anything wild. In Norway, food and water safety isn't something travelers need to think about, it's a given. Every bite, every sip, and every breath feels clean and honest, echoing the landscape itself, fresh, balanced, and pure. Useful apps and resources. Exploring Norway becomes smoother, richer, and more connected when you use the right tools. Whether you're catching a train, navigating mountain trails, or checking the weather in the Arctic, a handful of well-chosen apps and websites can truly elevate your journey. Start with transport. The App Inter gives you journey planning across buses, trains, and ferries nationwide, ideal when you're hopping between cities or tracing the coast. Visit norway.com+1 for hiking. The app Norgescart offers detailed topographic maps with offline access, indispensable when trails spare you mobile signal but still demand your bearings. Guide to Lofoten+1 want to know the weather or catch the northern lights. The free app YR supplies local forecasts, wind updates, and clear skies alerts, especially handy for fjords and far north nights. Visit norway.com. For daily life in Norway, there are helpful digital assistants. The app Vips makes payments and peer transfers almost effortless, while regional transport apps, like Rutebillet in Oslo, Viking, SKYSS in Bergen, tailor local travel and fares. Unlock Norway when you're outdoors. The app UTidNO, produced by the Norwegian Trekking Association, gives you accessible trail guides, cabin info and nature trips across the country. Wikipedia. And for serious adventurers, offline capable map apps like Osmond ensure navigation remains possible when you're far from civilization. Wikipedia. With the right apps in place, your travel through Norway becomes less about logistics and more about moments. The train gliding into a fjord, the map showing hidden trails, the screen whispering clear skies tonight. Quick facts, useful apps and resources. Journey planning, inter, national transport, bus, train, ferry, hiking and nature, Norgeskart, topographic maps, UTidNO, trails, weather and skies, YR, local forecasts and aurora alerts, daily life and payments, Vips, Rutebillet, Oslo, Viking, SKYSS, Bergen, offline navigation, Osmond, full maps when signal is weak, essence. Tech that fades into the background so Norway's beauty takes center stage. As the aurora fades into the morning light and the quiet mist settles once more over the deep waters of the Sognefjord, our journey through Norway comes to its rest. We have stood atop the high plateaus, walked the wooden wharfs of history, and felt the ancient pulse of the mountains. The resilience of the north and the peace of the fjords are now yours to carry into the night. If you found peace or inspiration in our journey today, please consider liking this video and subscribing to Apex Atlas. Your support helps us continue our mission to document the world, one deep dive at a time. And don't forget to visit our shop if you'd like to bring a piece of these landscapes into your own home. But for now, the map is closed. The north is still. May your rest be as vast as the Arctic sky and as tranquil as a mountain lake. Thank you for wandering with us. Sleep well. Good night.